Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. It's Yarly G. Today I'm going to be sharing an experience with you when I knew it was time to purchase a home and no longer rent.
Hustle, 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 step. Move, and make it back. First we gotta hustle, so we get the cash.
Some people may have different skepticism about when is a good time, but I'm just sharing my experience and hopefully it inspires you and you can take and get something out of it to make your own decision. So I was paying rent. My rent was about $1,800. I lived in Brooklyn, an apartment in Brooklyn. It was a 2-bedroom, and I still had to pay utilities. My income was pretty decent. I was able to live. Pretty much had my music studio in there. So a lot of the rent I was paying, I was able to write off. First of all, I pretty much reached my max of the 3-year term that the IRS allowed you to write losses. So on my 3rd year was when I reached that. I wrote losses against my rent because the music income wasn't sufficing over what I was paying for rent. So I could no longer write off the rent as much as I could as I previously was able to. So that was the first thing. The next thing for me was I was kind of upset at the fact that the landlord was raising the rent. He wanted, I think, $30, something like that, extra. I pay on time. I'm like, it doesn't really make any sense, and I'm paying all the utilities. But I kind of get it. But it's a huge building. It's not like it's a house. It's a huge building. There's no way you're not sustaining. Things are not increasing to the point where it's like, I feel like you need to do that. And it's only the first year. The second year, I get it. But that was the second thing. And the last thing is they wanted to raise the rent, but they weren't delivering the services properly. When something happened, they weren't very responsive. I had to call the city to come in and check on some things so many times. They got written up. They got a violation. They got written up. Things like that. So I just got fed up. I'm like, this is not the way that I want to live. And I'm paying you the money to be able to live. I should be comfortable. That's the exchange. I pay something and I'm expected to get something back. You can't tell me that you're not giving me heat properly when you want or when you feel like it. Like, all these things should be properly accommodated if you're paying your money. I'm not paying you half price. You can't be giving me half services as well. So that was another upset point for me. I was looking in Brooklyn for at least 2 years. A couple of things happened in between those 2 years which caught me a bit of step back to move forward. I never looked at it as a source of a mistake. It's more like experiences that you learn from to help you move forward. So within those 2 years, once I got to the end, it just became so crazy. Prices were so high. It's not that I couldn't afford it. I got approved for $800,000, so I could have bought any 2-family around Brooklyn from anywhere, even Queens, Brooklyn. Not Manhattan, but Queens, Brooklyn. I was able to afford a 2-family. I looked at the amount I would collect for rent and the condition of these houses too. It's not like they were around the $750 ranges and it was in perfect condition. You still had to do a little bit of work and repair. So I wasn't. To me, it didn't quite make sense. The math did not add up. The rental income that you would get from these houses plus the mortgage, you would still end up paying something out of pocket for it. But I did not give up. I kept on going. I kept on looking. But I also had I started having a different outlook. I don't know what made me starting to have the different outlook. No one came to me, but I said, you know what? What if I look over the nearest state nearby that's not too far, easy to commute back and forth to NYC? How about I move over there? And bam, there you have it. So I started looking into New Jersey. I looked at the New Jersey prices. I'm like, holy crap. It's 30% less. The rental income is not too far off. And you get so much more space for the value, meaning you can actually cover your mortgage with just renting the same structure you rent out 2 units, you can cover your entire mortgage, and all you have to worry about is the little bit of utilities and actually like doing some of the repair costs. But at least you're not worried about the mortgage every month. That's when I knew this was the perfect time for me to jump into the situation. Not that it was the wrong time, but it was the wrong market. I started looking at a different market in nearby state, which was in New Jersey. And to get back and forth between Brooklyn and New Jersey was about a 30 to 40 minutes commute. So I gave it a shot. The realtor I was working with, I told him this is the decision that I want to move forward with. What he did was, within the same company, he referred me to another agent who are super great, very nice people. They really helped me throughout the process. I was able to pretty much get an accepted offer on a home within about 2 months versus those 2 years I've been looking around. Actually, not even. I think it was like 6 weeks after we seen the house. We seen several houses within 6 weeks. Bam! I just knew that was that one. But it did not end there. Unfortunately, the seller, I don't know, backed off at the end. I accepted, and I was willing to compromise so many things, but you know how you have to have faith in God and just trust that what's not for you is not for you. You have to trust it. I was able to afford it. I was willing to bend over backwards, but the seller was just being unresponsive. That is nothing to get upset about. That is God doing what God does. He prevents you from getting into a situation which you cannot handle, or a situation which would have brought a bit of your downfall. So do not fight it. Just accept it as is and just thank God. And that's exactly what happened. And that home had 10-car parking space. It had 4 levels, and then the basement was split in half. It had 2 apartments in the basement, which with a backyard, huge backyard, already covered up so the rain did not get on the backyard, etc. It was just such a big house. But what's not for you is not for you. The next house I got, I was willing to put an offer on. They had the same 4 levels, pretty much 4 units, backyard. Part of it was covered. It had a little patio, so when it rained, the rain did not get on the entire backyard. However, it did not have any driving space. But it was being sold for about $100,000 less. So which made sense, you know, for $100,000 less, is it worth having a lot that you cannot really build on or have the money to build on? It was definitely worth it, and it made sense. So I went for it, and the seller was great too. I clicked with the seller, so that's when I knew that was for me, and I knew that this was time for me to just keep moving forward. And bam, it happened, closed down, got the place rented out over the course of a few months, and everyone has just been very helpful to me as well. Like I have gotten great tenants. They help me out in several situations, and I don't have to complain as much. There were repairs that you really see over the period of your first year within the house. It is the most brutal, but do not fear it because you can overcome it. The worst thing I had was a leak pipe for my boiler return, but I was able to swap that out, and the insurance company actually helped me cover for the damage that it caused to the bathroom. I had to pretty much renovate my entire bathroom for my basement. But it all got done thanks by the grace of God, and it's not as bad. The first year is the toughest, but once you overcome that hump, the 29 remainder of the years that you have within your mortgage for that house is going to be awesome. So far, I'm on month 11, and it has been very awesome. So thanks for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. I hope my story has been an inspiration to you. Do not be discouraged. Continue to look out there, and don't be stuck to where you know and where you're comfortable. Look at the neighboring areas. For me, transportation, see the train, subways. If the neighboring area has access to these things, it is a valuable market for you, and you're able to bring in that rental income. If you're into that and not just a single family, definitely shoot for it and look elsewhere. Do not be stuck to just one area, which is super inflated, super expensive. Just look at the neighboring, because there's profits and opportunities there as well that you can invest in. So definitely continue to strive out there and be great, and you will find your next one as well.